Hey everyone, and welcome on this Friday to the next Learn With launch at lunch. That's quite a mouthful, isn't it? And in fact, before I introduce ourselves, we always have a bit of a game at launch. When we introduce ourselves, we say like a favorite food item. So today, when we introduce ourselves, it's going to be our favorite ice creams, I think. So Owen, do you want to go first?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name's Owen. I am a senior measurement analyst here at Launch. So what that sort of involves is data tracking, making sure GA4 is all working good and sending the right information into the different ads platforms.
Awesome. And what's your favorite ice cream, Owen?
Of course. Oh, yeah. Right. So it's a lovely day. And what did I have last? I really like pistachio ice cream. I think that's a
Oh
really
my
nice.
God, you've just stolen my ice cream flavor. Okay, I'm going to go with my number two then. So I'm Jay. I'm the founder of Launch. I don't know if you've joined us before on one of these LinkedIn Lives. If you are watching live, we're broadcasting on YouTube and on LinkedIn. Do ask questions in the comments. This is your opportunity to ask Owen about anything to do with data privacy, cookies, OneTrust, all of that stuff. And we really enjoy kind of sharing our knowledge with the world. So today we're talking all about cookies, not the biscuits, but cookies, where they sit within the field of marketing measurement. And I haven't said actually my favorite ice cream. So because you stole pistachio, I'm going to go with rum and raisin.
Oh, yeah, nice,
Especially
nice.
like an artisan one where they've really soaked the raisins in proper amounts of rum.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm here in Devon today. In fact, we're both in Devon, aren't we, Owen?
Yeah,
And I'm looking outside and it's a beautiful, beautiful day. So just a reminder, do ask questions. And Owen's going to have some slides that are taking through, but just to set the scene a bit, when I started Launch almost 13 years ago, I had no idea that we would have a data department one day. I had no idea that we were going to even have cookie compliance and all of the need for that. And this landscape of performance marketing, of basically any sort of digital marketing, if you aren't au fait with cookies, with measurement of how to make sure that you've got a proper attribution model in place, that you're tagging up everything correctly, you're missing a massive piece of the puzzle. So, Owen, over to you. Tell us what you're going to be talking about today.
So yes, we're going to be talking about sort of one of the key features that all marketers and all websites should really have on their sites as soon as possible. And this is because that landscape is constantly and ever changing. We really recommend this gets implemented as soon as you can, because it's going to offer better opportunities for the future for your GA4 and Google Ads to perform. And it's going to make sure that you are measuring conversions and measuring users in a safe and compliant way. So we're going to be talking about, firstly, consent mode and the new version 2 of consent mode, and the key to making it get the right conversions into your platforms is enhanced conversions. So that's going to be the key there.
Awesome. This is predominantly for people who are doing some sort of paid media, but anybody where you have a digital strategy, it's going to be relevant because it's even measuring all of the organic traffic and social traffic as well. But particularly important is Google Consent Mode if you're running any sort of Google PPC, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be an essential component already, but even more so going into the later parts of this year. So,
awesome. So shall I bring the slides to the stage?
I can pop them in. Here we go.
Amazing. And in fact, I should point out why there's a QR code on each one of these slides. We did a session, gosh, it must have been about a month ago now, with Ryan from Hybrid Legal and Ian, who's head of our data and analytics department. And there was a whole ebook created from that. So if any of you have got like burning questions about the legal side, of cookie compliance, I would highly recommend that you download this ebook. There's also a link to the talk that we did on it, and Ryan from Hybrid Legal was our in-house lawyer of choice that day. So yeah, I highly recommend that. All right, take us away, Owen.
Excellent. So we'll start with really sort of the foundations, which is what is Google Consent Mode version 2, and why is it so important to have in place on your websites? And really, it's taking the sort of the back step of it is why is it been put in place? What's it there for? And essentially, it's Google's response to the Digital Markets Act, which came into force across the EU in 2022. And then across the UK, there's a very similar sounding Digital Markets Competition and Consumers Bill, longly worded, which kind of is a copy that came in 2023. Basically, what these are doing is that it's making sure that users have the choice on websites to define what they want to share to folks like companies like Google and what they don't want to share. So consent mode essentially is the mechanism that Google invented to make sure that it is still sending information to its platforms in the right way. And what it needs to do, it needs to work with a cookie management platform. So at launch, we always use OneTrust. It's our recommended partner provider for that. And within our installations, we always make sure that consent mode is kind of baked into that whole process, because what it does is it allows Google to adjust the behavior of the information that's being sent to the platforms depending on what the user chose. So we all see those cookie banners on websites now, and there really should be a point to make them compliant. They need to have a point where you can choose what is toggled on or toggled off. And behind the scenes, consent mode is the feature that we enable, which ensures that if things are toggled on, then you have these custom parameters that I've kind of shown here that are being sent to Google's products. So that'd be your GA4 and your Google Ads. The new features, the whole reason why it's got this V2 moniker at the end of it, is the two new ones that this little screenshot shows of ad user data and ad personalization. Now, they came into force as a response of that Digital Markets Act, because what consumers and companies need to define is the fact that it's not just you're storing information, but you're also using that user data for an advertising purpose. And the same goes for personalizing your adverts. So if you think of all your the retargeting adverts that Google can do, where say someone views a product and then that product can be remarketed to you in a display ad format, essentially that is ad personalization. So that's that fourth parameter that's in there. And with the user data, it's adding users to an audience. So these now need to be defined and either set to denied or set to granted once people have been accepted those cookies. So essentially that's what that is doing, and it controls how Google changes that information to whether it either allows it fully or it activates the modeling side of Google's of GA4 and Google Ads.
Excellent. Can you talk a little bit about that modeling side? And from this is super interesting for me, because to be in the weeds of all of this detail is really hard for marketeers. And I'm not within the data department, yet I'm within a performance agency. And all of that is really helpful for me to understand. And now we're finding that CMOs kind of need to know the detail of this to be able to ensure that they are compliant. So many times we're doing audits on sites and the client thinks they're compliant, and actually the level of detail that this requires, they aren't. But yeah, what's that modeling bit?
So the modeling bit is where, when consent mode is set up right, is that even if the client, the user on the website has toggled all the features off of the cookie banner, so therefore cookies are actually off on the website, and GA4 and Analytics doesn't have a cookie dropped on it. The modeling side is then activated, so that is where Google is then calling upon its advanced machine learning technology to then create a modeling behavior of what a user may or may not be doing on the website, which is based on all the other information it's already gathered about all the existing users that have been on the website. So it's kind of a bit of sort of guesswork in a way, but it uses a lot of its own power and knowledge to reinform it. So that's why that within GA4 now, with the right setup, with consent mode active, you can have modeled users being reported on. So those are the users that essentially you wouldn't have seen if it wasn't for consent mode.
Well, because that's the alternative, isn't it? Is that you would just then have no data. And we're also seeing that as a problem. We did an audit of a site recently, and page views were being double counted. And, you know, there are all these little small things that you don't realize how important they are. It means the modeling can't work properly. It means then the data that you're reading, that the decisions you're needing to take for your marketing strategy are on flawed data, which is crazy.
Yeah, and that's one of our sort of big sort of catchphrases that we have in the data team is bad data equals bad everything. And it starts with this, and then that's what you need to really make good business decisions and also have advertising campaigns that are actually performing correctly. So yeah, and the fundamental for that for 2024 is an active compliant consent mode. So
that's a brilliant explanation, Owen. And I think that you're one of the few people within the data world who can talk articulately to clients in this micro detail without using too many acronyms. Because if I understood it, then I definitely know more people understand it. But I find it overwhelming at times as a marketeer, being able to get to this level of detail. But now I get why.
It's amazing how so much has changed, I think, over the last 5 years, particularly in digital marketing. And you mentioned at the start of the call that you never imagined 13 years ago that you would have had a data department. But I think now it's essential to have investment within your marketing team, or at least knowledge to just know what's going on in this space. So it's a big change. So yeah, ultimately what consent mode does is that it's a way of striking the balance between allowing users to make that consent choice and for Google to still provide CMOs, marketers, advertisers the ability to measure data accurately and have an idea of what's actually going on the site. I think the next bit is that I've kind of addressed why do we need it, and what if we didn't have consent mode on a site? And ultimately it's down to these kind of key facts. You've got third-party cookies are being phased out. Now on Google Chrome it's already started. So at the start of the year they restricted 1% of global users to third-party cookies. And what third-party cookies are is what Google Ads and other targeting tools used to rely upon, but without them, there isn't that ability to share customer behavior and data between different sites to gain a better idea. So that's being switched off and turned off. And really, because of these new laws that have come in place with the Digital Markets Act, Google is effectively breaking the law if it doesn't have a consent mode, and so are you as an advertiser or marketer. So it's really important to put in place. And because of that, without it, Google won't know what consent choice has been made. So it doesn't know whether to activate the modeling or rely upon the cookies that are present on the site that it uses. So it will have less and less of an idea of what's going on a website, and therefore your analytics are going to begin to suffer. And you mentioned too that we've seen this already on some websites that we see, and we look at the analytics and just go, this is not right. It's really dropping away, and that can be because of a poor setup and lack of consent mode. And
this last point, I want you to kind of labor a bit, because we have instances where we might be doing the paid media, the Google ads, and someone else might be in charge of the data, or the website developer makes an update, something happens to Tag Manager, or a tag falls off.
Yeah.
Why does that matter now?
Well, it matters massively because of the legal ramifications if it's not done right. And this is where Google is taking a real black and white approach to, if it's not right, then they have the power to stop an advertiser from using the platform. And they can do that by literally just seeing the website domain and recognizing it as though, well, this doesn't have a cookie banner on place. It doesn't have consent mode active. So with the greater sort of importance of getting consent mode in the sites and working, we will see more alerts placed within those accounts that don't have it set up right, and those that not at all. It's to be expected that it may even stop the company from even advertising on the platform.
So we've got the legal ramifications there, and then suddenly, if you're going into a sunny bank holiday weekend and you sell sun lotion, and your ads are quickly switched off by Google because they don't want to be serving non-compliant ads. That could be one of your busiest weekends of the year, or even worse, in the run up to Black Friday if you're a retailer. The other thing that we're seeing on the paid media side of things is if consent mode, I don't know, the wrong version is loaded, so you think you've ticked the box, but you're not continually renewing it. That's challenging too, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's keeping up to date with the changes that are being being made. So Google is ever improving the mechanism to ensure that users are kept in a compliant way, and data is shared in a compliant way. So I think with that, it's just always stay on top of the alerts that are being shown to you within Google Ads. And I know sometimes it can be, you can often become blind to it because it's usually telling you something of either, improve your optimization score, or you haven't done this, your card's about to expire, and don't ignore it. You got to make sure that you look at it, learn more from it, because it will usually provide you some information and on where to go, and really sort of invest the time in it of what it could be trying to tell you that could be very important to potentially keeping the account going.
This might take us down a rabbit hole, but a lot of CMOs are skeptical about GA4, and are maybe slow to adopt it, or are discounting the data that's in there because it's not being set up properly. A quick summation of your opinion on GA4.
I think it's great. I honestly do. It's thinking back, and I know people like to think of universal analytics with sort of kind of rose tinted. Yeah, and I can imagine people think of it. It's like, oh, this is like a little old grandma or something with rose tinted spectacles, kind of lying back and just being nice and sensible, and everything works as it should, and everything's there. It really missed a lot of the detail that GA4 can now provide, and it's the customization that GA4 can do that UA never could, and it's also its ability to really understand where your users are coming from. Sometimes with that, it might not be the answer that you want, and it might be an answer that's different to what you expect. And I think that's where a lot of the misunderstanding or dislike comes from, because it's it's different to what you thought it would be. But actually look at what it's telling you, because it could actually be quite informative in helping you make better decisions going forward.
Amazing.
Excellent. So I think we'll move on to the sort of the key part, I think, of what we wanted to talk about here, which is with consent mode in place, and you've got data collected in the most compliant way. How do we make that modeling part that GA4 and Google Ads can do even more effective? Because ultimately it's working on an AI basis. And if you think of other things that are sort of like that are machine learning, so I think ChatGPT, for example, machine learning is only as good as the information you give it. If you ask it something the wrong way, or you are slightly vague about the info you get put in, it's not going to give you good results going out. So what Google has invented as part of to support consent mode working better for advertisers and site owners and marketers is something called enhanced conversions. Okay. So this is a very clever little tool that basically connects Google account holders that are out in the internet using various different websites and are logged in to their accounts at the time. So the example on the screenshot there shows it's a logged in YouTube user, but it could start with a Google Chrome account, and they could be browsing various different sites and viewing adverts, clicking on links, and eventually maybe making a purchase or getting in touch. Even if that user may have opted out of the cookie part of the site, because they're logged in to a Google account, the Google has developed a method that is connecting those two interactions together. So from the original user login to Google Chrome to an actual eventual purchase. So it's a great way in recovering the conversions that you may have otherwise completely missed because that user has opted out. So it's a great way of recovering, but also improving the accuracy and quality of how your Google Ads performs. And I've got to say, from the top of this, it's essentially a Google Ads tool, but it is designed to improve the performance of your ads. So and what it really relies on is that interaction on the end part of the site and sharing that first party data, which is basically the information a user is willingly giving away. So things such as an email address or a telephone number when they want to make a purchase or get in touch via an inquiry form. So this bit is the real clever bit that we're encouraging people to try and set up as much as they can on websites.
I'm loving the sentence there, keeping smart bidding smart.
Yes.
Tom, our head of marketing, who's in the background here, that's a blog waiting to happen.
I think so.
Keeping smart bidding smart. What do you mean by that?
Well, in the past, you would rely on more of a cookie-based method to measure to inform your bid strategies. So with enhanced conversions, it ties that conversion back to the same user that clicked on an ad. And the best thing about it, because the way we use Google Chrome now and the way we use our phones and laptops and devices is you could be logged into the same Google Chrome account across different devices. So if you clicked on an ad on your phone, but made a purchase later on your laptop or another device, but you're still logged in, it's that method of tracking a conversion to an actual identifiable user, even if they're on different devices. So that's kind of the clever bit that keeps it smart, to really prove to the ads platform that this person has definitely purchased as a result of your ad. And
from a CMO perspective, that is really, really important if you're trying to build a use case for more demand gen or brand awareness advertising.
Yes.
Because if you don't have that in and people aren't accepting cookies, and you're missing out on that final piece of the conversion puzzle because it takes, let's say, 8 touch points. I mean, I saw a deck from Google the other day. It was 500 touch points. I mean, basically, it's a lot of touch points.
It's a lot.
And unless you're, that's where brand bidding comes in. And I think I'm doing a podcast soon about brand bidding, that controversial thing of, if you hang out in the bottom of the funnel too much and do too much brand bidding, are you cannibalizing your traffic? Well, if you don't have the confidence that that early stage brand awareness demand gen campaign is working on YouTube, on discovery, then you're not going to invest in it, are you? And this seems to be the final missing piece of the puzzle. Meta was a little bit better at this because everybody was logged into their Facebook and Instagram accounts. And that Meta Pixel has been, and CAPI integration has been working much better at joining up those dots. So it's good to see Google kind of catching up on this.
It is definitely a catch up, that I'd say, because CAPI is actually Conversion API, and the full name is it works very differently to this, and it uses server connections and all the sort of it's a different method of you not relying on cookies to count the conversion. And both ways they're different, but also very clever in how they do. And the key to both of them is that they identify users in a privacy safe way. So the clever bit behind, folks may have already seen on the screenshot, that talks about hashing the data. What that basically means is that even if it's seeing an email address on a website, it actually encrypts it all to a big string of numbers that will then link to the same email address that belongs to a Google account. So that's how it makes that connection together. So it's a big sort of opportunity for folks to add to their advertising strategy.
We've been doing a few audits recently where we were looking at the list of conversions that were in there, and if you've got enhanced conversions set up, but then you've got a whole load of conversions all set to primary conversions, that's also a failure of keeping the smart bidding smart, because you're saying that a get directions conversion is the same as a huge purchase. That's frustrating as well. That's where CMOs need to be mindful.
Absolutely. And this goes on to sort of what I'm going to say now, is that setting up enhanced conversions doesn't have to just be on that sort of big ticket purchase. It can be set up to any conversion that happens on the website where user provided data is shared. So if you think email subscribe lists, I know a lot of e-commerce brands now, it can sometimes be irritatingly, admittedly, the first thing you see on a website. But if you're after a discount code and you share your email address, that's a great opportunity for CMOs to consider, that's another way that I can inform the Google Ads, the bidding strategy, that there's a user on the website that's interested. And enhanced conversions is the way of collecting that data in a compliant way, even if they're opted out. So definitely consider that when looking at your website, to think of what is it that people are doing on the website that involves providing a bit of data, and if I can add that as a conversion.
And so that's kind of the reactive way of doing it. What is already there that I could see as a micro conversion that is gathering that first party data from a strategic point of view, from a content strategy point of view. And shout out to all of the people who are busy creating content, because it's how you get how you deliver value now to your possible clients. But it's then being right, we need more micro conversions. Let's let's put in some more downloadable guides, ask an expert. These micro conversions can then say, okay, well, what is the customer journey to an eventual purchase? If it's a potential 3 or 4 month conversion journey or customer cycle, then making sure that those micro conversions are in there, and then your ads are going to work better if you feed that in through enhanced conversions. That's the kind of the ideal.
Yeah, and we've seen that with some clients where the conversion window can be beyond 90 days, but you're able to continue doing that even if the user has actually opted out. So I'll just briefly touch on sort of how and recommend how people can do this to set this up. It's there's kind of two key avenues to go through, and one is either use Google Tag Manager, which we tend to sort of recommend, or you can do it through GA4. And I've kind of on the screenshot there, you've got the launches contact form, and that's essentially what you want to try and get into the Tag Manager or GA4 as a field, as an entry field that is looking at to pick out an email address. And what you do within Tag Manager is that you on your conversion tags, you make sure that your user provided data is set up as a little variable. And that's the thing that's basically looking for the email address. You can do this either on a contact form, you can do it on a customer login when or even in the checkout stage of buying an item. It all works in very much the same way. GA4 is the other option, where if you're not necessarily interested in necessarily bidding on those on this particular conversion or action that's happening on your site, you can have it set up in the background. And within GA4, there's a couple of new features that are kind of quite hidden away in the admin section that's allowing you to enable the collection of user provided data in essentially the same way as Tag Manager. So they work in the similar sort of ways, and it's just that way of giving the machine more information to help get the ads to continue to perform.
Brilliant. That's super helpful, Owen. Thank you.
Excellent. And I think the last one I've just got there is, how do you know it's working? And you've got to go to Google Ads really to get the sort of the final say on if it's working or not. And the example here is it's under the diagnostic section of your Google Ads account. And if you see that you've got a little sort of card that tells you the quality of the conversions and the quality of the enhanced conversion setup. So this client, for example, here has got an excellent score. We expect this to also improve in terms of reportability from Google coming into the rest of this year. So hopefully we may even see sort of an uplift to sort of actually tell you directly, because you've got this on your site now, is having this much of an improvement to your ads account. So that's definitely, we look forward to seeing that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you're getting constant updates now from Google. We went through 10 years of never really getting much support with Google Analytics, never really getting much support with tagging up. But I think as a Google Premier Partner Agency, you've got someone you can speak to on behalf of clients.
Yeah, there's a particular individual who's I love this guy. He's Spanish, and he's really helpful in sort of just helping us tackle those ones that are a bit tricky to eventually solve. And really just shout out to that team that are very helpful in helping us solve some of these more trickier problems. And the main reason why they want us to do it is they want the ads accounts to succeed as well. So that's why it's kind of it's the same interest. So I'm pleased that they are available, and I can always book a call with them to help solve my problems.
Amazing. Well, you've done an incredible job there, Owen, of really in a very understandable way describing what is baffling so many marketing teams. So I want to say thank you. We're technically 3 minutes over because it was going to be a 30-minute live. Just to say, if there are any questions, if you quickly pop them in the chat now, we might have a chance to get to them. But if not, there's our details below. You can reach out to us. I think this needs to become a regular thing, Owen. You honestly have described it so well that my next meeting that I'm in, I might be able to talk sense about it.
No, I'm more than happy to, and it's always been like since kind of moving into the data team because before I was working in paid media, and I think it's always been that sort of interest of mine and going, let's simplify it so people can actually understand it. And I think from my background originally in more generic generalist digital marketing, it's always been, I've always got that in mind to just go, well, what would my previous self want to hear and see here? And rather than going too much into the detail.
Yeah, no, it wasn't baffling at all. It was beautifully explained. That leaves me to wrap up. Now that you were talking about pistachio ice cream, I'm wondering what ice cream I've actually got in the fridge. But it leaves me to just say thank you, those of you who tuned in live. And for those of you watching back, do make sure that you reach out and follow us on LinkedIn, on YouTube. It would be great to know what else you'd like us to cover in these LinkedIn lives. We've got them in pretty much every Friday when we're available. And it'd be great to hear what you want us to cover next. So thank you so much, Owen. And behind the scenes, thank you, Tom. See you all soon.